Looking to expand your existing business? Research shows that 95% of the world's customers are located outside the United States. The New Jersey SBDC Network International Trade Services serve as catalyst to help businesses tap into international markets. Our international trade specialists provide one-on-one consulting, strategic research, market planning, and training to help companies develop and deliver their products and services to overseas markets. Ready to go global? Visit us online to get started on your path to success today.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Priscilla Liebert-Calder. I am the event coordinator for the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark. And on behalf of our director, Dr. Tanda Indoro, I would like to welcome you to our webinar on launching a private label. For those of you who are on today's webinar and you may be unfamiliar with the SBDC, which stands for Small Business Development Center, we are a resource center for the SBA, and we are the premier provider of business training and consulting services here in New Jersey. We are one of 12 centers across New Jersey in the NJSBDC network. Each of our centers are responsible for one or more counties. We are responsible for the residents and businesses that reside here in Essex County. Our center is hosted by the Rutgers Business School, and we are funded through a public-private partnership agreement between the SBA, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Business Action Center. Now, what the SBDC does is we provide one-on-one business consulting at no cost to you. We provide that to entrepreneurs and business owners here who are trying to start or grow their existing business. We provide you with a consultant with expertise in the area in which you require, whether that be helping you with someone with, accessing capital. You need help with your marketing. You need help with government contracting. You are trying to get into import-export. You're trying to start your own private label product like we're going to discuss today. You want some help with your business plan. You need help with strategic planning, getting your business to the next level, or even, exiting your business. You're trying to sell your business. We have consultants with expertise in these areas that we could assign to you to help you navigate through the problems that you might be facing. And this is provided to you at no cost, paid for by your tax dollars. To take advantage of that service, you simply need to visit our website at www.rnsbdc.com and fill out what we call a request for counseling form. And that's a simple form that gives us some information about you and the background of your business, and you're able to identify the areas in which you need help with. And once you receive it, we assign you that consultant. They have about 24 to 48 hours to contact you and to set up that appointment. Now, before we usually did that either face-to-face, they used to either come out to your site or over the phone, but due to COVID, all of these appointments are now being done virtually or over the phone. So once you do that, that's one way to reach out to us. The other service we provide is the training services, where we are known for our webinars and our workshops. I know last year we did 94 events, and this year we've added even more webinars to our roster. So we have many webinars in different areas that you can choose from. It doesn't matter where in New Jersey you reside, you're free to attend these webinars and workshops. Most are free, and some have a nominal fee. As a matter of fact, all our workshops have been discounted due to COVID. So it is a great opportunity now for you to take advantage of our training services. Um, but only when it comes down to the one-on-one consultations, you do have to seek out your local SBDC in the county in which you reside. Okay. And again, I did say you simply just visit our website, www.rnsbdc, and complete the form, and we'll reach out to you. If you're outside of Essex County, you can still complete that form. We will, however, direct your request to your local SBDC office. Now, for the benefit of those attending today's webinar, we've muted audio. So we'll be taking questions via the chat. It depends on how crowded we get. Sometimes if we have a more intimate group setting here, if it's just a few people, we're sometimes able to open up the audio, open up the microphones so that you can ask your questions. So we'll play it by ear, but for now, if you do have questions while the presentation is on the way, please use the chat or the Q&A feature. Actually, the Q&A feature is preferred because at least your questions won't get lost in all the shuffle of the chat. And so we're able to keep track of those questions much better there. So you can post your questions there and we'll answer it. Also, please know that a copy of the presentation slides will be emailed out to you at the end of today's presentation, along with a replay of today's webinar, so you can refer back to at your leisure. Please give us about 48 to 72 hours to get that video out to you, because we do have to edit some of the video before it's sent out. So now it is my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today. That is Nellie Reyes. Nellie is the CEO of Nelsam Group, as well as Freshie Fem Care, which is a private label product. So this is a great opportunity to pick the ears of someone who's already done this before. They have launched private labels. They have experience with that. She's also our a consultant here at the SBDC here at Rutgers-Newark, in the area of private labeling and importing, exporting, supply chain, and marketing here at our SBDC. So we are happy to have her today as presenter. And so I am going to just turn today's presentation over to Nellie.
Thank you, Priscilla. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Yes, as Priscilla shared, I am the founder and CEO of Freshie Natural Feminine Care, and also the co-founder of Successful Brands NYC. I am a former point of sale specialist at Stars Television Network as well. And the work that I do with Freshie at Freshie, having launched my own brand, is part of the big reason why I can speak to you today about doing that successfully. Freshie is a natural feminine care product line that I created and branded and launched successfully online first, and eventually got into several national retailers with the brand. And it's kind of my pride and joy because it's my baby, which I am still working on every day to grow. So I hope that the knowledge and experience that I share with you today helps each and every one of you interested in launching your own brand, that it helps you in some way, along with, as Priscilla just mentioned, the access you have to the SBDC, which is an excellent resource that I hope you will use. So We'll get started with the presentation, and if you have questions, I'd prefer you post them, and I can answer them at the end of the presentation. We're going to do, as Priscilla said, a section for Q&A. So without further ado, we'll get started. So I like to first define private label because sometimes people aren't clear on exactly what it is, or even if they have a clear idea, it's just good to define it because it can encompass more than you think. So it's products from diverse industries. They range from food, cosmetics, fashion labels, technical software, hardware, gadgets, and more. Basically, whatever idea you might have that you want to launch that's your very own, whether it's unique or whether it's something that is already in market and you are just improving on it. The point is they are manufactured by you or created, right? The idea is yours, and either you manufacture it yourself or you use a contract or third-party manufacturer. You sell these goods under your unique brand name. That makes it a private label. Also, as a brand name owner, you are the person making all decisions on product specifics. That includes trademarks, styles, design, flavors, scents, sizes, pricing, your target market, your packaging. Everything is decided by you. If with a product like what I launched, right, you decide on formulation. That's part of the flavors and scents, as well as design. So just to give you a few stats on private label products in case a product is what you have in mind. 21% on average is the percent of private label products that are consumer packaged goods sold at US retailers. And this statistic is from November 2019. So it's probably grown since then. But, just to give you an idea, because 21% might mean, or might seem rather, like a low number. However, in Walmart America alone, private label sales are about $49.3 billion worth of their sales. That's in Walmart North America. Obviously, there's many other retailers that sell private label products, but Walmart is a pretty good measurement because of the high level of consumption that exists at Walmart. So $49.3 billion a year. Also, sales of private label, if you're interested in doing a health or beauty aid, in the US, as of November 2019, private label sales in health and beauty were at $88.1 billion. So, it goes to show you that there is big business in private label. There was a time when if you weren't a major brand name, you probably weren't going to be a player in market at all. But I think that's exactly the opposite now. People want the independent brands. People are interested in what you probably are thinking about. So it's encouraging to learn the statistics and learn what is possible for you. So to get into the details of how you begin to turn your idea into an actual physical creation, you have some options. One is proprietary. And what that means is you can have a formulator, for example, if you're launching a personal care product, right, or a consumer good, or a food product even, and have a formula created for you that no one else has. So that makes it proprietary to you. This is the kind of situation where you could patent the idea, the formula, the recipe, if you wanted to patent, because it is proprietary. No one else is doing it, and no one else has it. The other option is what they call ready-made, and a lot of brands, independent brands, have gone with this option because it's easier, right? It already exists. What it means is you would work with either a contract manufacturer or third-party manufacturer who would show you kind of a menu of what they have. Let's say you wanted to launch a shampoo, they would show you these, 40 or 50 formulations that they already use with other customers, and it's ready made. And you can have some options like putting different scents in it or different color in it, but the base of the formula already exists. And of course this can happen with food as well. Many big names do it too, where you'd have the same big brand name, for example, purchase the same exact formula that another big name brand is using. They just put their own design on it, and of course each one markets it in their own way. But ready-made is an option that allows for someone who may not have an idea for a proprietary formulation or a unique recipe to still be able to launch a product line that could range in cost, because you could decide on the quality, and then you would just focus very heavily on your branding. The third option would be re-engineered, and what this is you have a product that you love in your bathroom or in your kitchen, or something you wear that you think, I have a way that this could be made better. Re-engineering would mean that a contract manufacturer would take that product and add to it what you want to add, or they would, depending on what type of product it is, they would either reverse engineer it to find out exactly what ingredients are in it, and then re-engineer it to add whatever it is that you want to add to it. And we've seen this happen a lot. For example, some brands will take a product that already was there and they've had huge success by adding an ingredient to it, or changing maybe the functionality of the product. So this is something that's adds to the possibilities that you have, because again, there might be something that you're absolutely in love with but think it could be improved on, and so you work with a contract manufacturer that could re-engineer that product for you. So as you're thinking through all the different steps, you are going to want to make sure that you meet these points, right? You have to set your private label product apart. That's what's going to give you success. If you launch something that is exactly the same as something else, then you're probably going to struggle to get it off its feet or for it to do well. So you want to make sure that you have unique points of differentiation for your product. And again, depending on which industry you're going into and what type of product you're looking to launch, or you have to decide on what those points of differentiation are. more than likely, if you're thinking about launching something, it's because you believe you have something unique. And so you have to make sure that that's a reality, because if you're just going to launch, let's say, another product with argan oil, that, and there are, thousands others in market, you've got to be able to speak to and point out what about your product makes it the one a person wants to buy off the shelf or select from a Google search. So that's very important, that as you're planning what you're doing, you think of the unique points of differentiation that your product is going to have. Attractive design and packaging, very important, especially in today's world where we are so bombarded on a daily basis with ads for, thousands of products. The attractive design and packaging definitely has an influence into why a person chooses your product. And it's a combination, of course, of things, because another point is your functionality, right? The functionality has to be valued by the consumer. If you launch a shampoo, just a shampoo, it's not the same as if you launch a shampoo that restores damaged hair. That's a functionality that people value, right? Men and women are going to value a product that's going to restore their hair, and so on. We can find a bunch of examples of products that the reason we purchase them is because we value the functionality they have. We think it looks pretty, it's nice packaging, it's attractive. And so just some of the points you want to keep in mind as you're working on a private label launch. So some of you here may already have started some of these points, but I think it's important to touch on them. Because of course, in order to go from idea to tangible product, you need to follow certain steps. That's why we're here. So to get started, you want to create a product launch plan, okay? And the product launch plan doesn't have to be a super complicated document. You don't have to, spend a fortune to get one done. It literally is you getting out a notepad and answering the right questions for yourself, and doing the right research that's going to allow you to be prepared for how to get that product to become a prototype that you can then multiply, reproduce, and sell. So you're obviously going to need to identify a suitable manufacturer. Some people will make small batches of products themselves. As I said earlier on in the presentation, you could make it yourself. At some point, that's no longer sustainable unless you move into a manufacturing facility if you've grown. But at first, we know of many brands that started in someone's kitchen. But in today's world, it's much easier to work with a contract manufacturer, third-party manufacturer, because there are some that work with startups, and so you can order small quantities, and they work with you even if you aren't super knowledgeable. So these are some of the points we're going to expand on, and identifying a suitable manufacturer, then knowing what is important, meaning what information is important that you know about the product manufacturer that you choose to work with in order to make your product a reality. So to elaborate more on the product launch plan, these are the questions that you should have answered on the product launch plan for sure. Number one, obviously, is the what. What are you launching? Very, very detailed. I'll just, for the sake of using an example, because I've already used it. Let's say shampoo. You're launching a shampoo. Well, a shampoo that does what? What's your goal with this shampoo? Then you want to answer the why. Why are you launching it? Because you identified a need in the market that isn't being fulfilled, for example. That's one reason I launched Freshie. I was embarking on a natural lifestyle where I was avoiding chemicals and eating better and trying to eat organic as much as possible. And I was looking for a feminine care product line that felt fresh and different and didn't have harsh ingredients, because I was learning more and more about ingredients. Well, I couldn't find it. So my why was that I wanted that and it wasn't there. And so I decided to create it. In your case, you need to know why you want to do this, why you think it's going to be valuable, that people are going to want to swipe their credit card, or put their hands in their wallet and pay you for it. Okay. Then when is important to know, right? So when do you want to do this? Is it something you want to launch in the spring because it's a product that's going to be very usable in the spring season, and then eventually you're going to find ways to brand it so that it can be used throughout the year, right? But at least the when, do you want to hit a specific date, or do you want to take advantage of something happening in the marketplace? Or do you just know that because you have, let's say, a day job, it's going to take you a year to do it? You want to give yourself a when, because of course, as with all goals, when we put a time specific date on there, we tend to work towards it and actually get it done. So where is important. So when I speak of where, I refer to, are you going to launch it online? Are you going to launch it on Amazon? Are you going to try launching it in stores and other small retailers, mom and pop retailers? Are you going to try to go right for the Walmarts or Targets of the world? You may want to open your own small shop. And in today's environment, that's a little difficult, of course, because brick and mortar stores are closing rather than opening. But everything's still possible. If you're putting something out in market that will go viral, that people just gravitate to, you can really do anything. But the where is very important, because that's going to help you determine what you need to launch, right? If you're going to launch on Amazon, for example, because you think that's just easier, and right now you don't want to invest in launching your own website, or again, you have a day job and you can't really focus on packing and shipping, so you're going to want Amazon to fulfill, then you're going to need to obviously learn the ins and outs of selling on Amazon, and you're going to need to prepare and find out what kinds of images you need, what their requirements are overall. So that's why that's important. Next, you want to identify the who. So who is going to be your target market? So who is your target market? Who are you launching this product for? Is it for women? Is it for men? Is it for both? Is it for children? Age demographics. Is it going to be for young teenagers, or young women, or older men? In the past few years, we saw how startups launched product lines for men's beards. They got very specific and became $1 million businesses. Actually, I think one of them might have gotten bought out for more than $1 billion. And so identifying your who is important because it allows you to also create the strategy that you're going to use to sell your product to your who. Um, for me, with Freshie, right, it's women, and it's women within a very specific age group, right, the age of 21 through 39, and it's women who can shop online and who can spend the amount of money that I'm charging for my product. Um, so they have to have a certain level of disposable income and so on. So in defining the who, again, you've got to get very specific about who your who is. Um, and the who is oftentimes tied to the why, right? You're launching it for this reason, for this person or these persons. Then how much is important, and how much we're talking about pricing strategy here. When you understand your who and your where you're going to sell your product, then that helps you to determine the pricing strategy. Of course, cost of production, cost of manufacturing plays a big role into the how much you're going to charge. But this is very important because you cannot launch a product that is designed, let's say, for young girls who may not have as much disposable income, or just going to be spending their allowance money, and charge them a premium price for it. Although I guess in today's market, right, Apple's done that and the parents buy it. But it's about really thinking through, taking your costs into account, and then really understanding the markup that you're able to give that cost, because of who your target market is and where you're going to sell your product. Something a lot of people don't know when they think about selling on Amazon, for example, which I use as an example, is that when you sell on Amazon, you can be very successful, right? Because you can sell volume. But by the time they charge the fees that they charge and cover the expenses of shipping through Amazon, and the cost of you sending the product to their warehouse and so on, they keep about 47, 48% of your gross revenues. So that's important to know. And if you're not priced correctly, you might be selling thousands of units of whatever your product is, but you're not going to be making any money because you're not priced high enough. On the same token, if you're priced too high, well, then you may not get any customers. So you want to make sure that this part, you are doing your research and your due diligence to figure out how much you price your product for. And you can always adjust, of course, you can always adjust, but you have to try to get that one right out the door. Okay, so these are 6 very basic questions that you should answer in detail when you are working on your product launch plan. It will give you a roadmap to really understanding what you're doing, because the whole point, obviously, of launching a private label product is to be successful, right, with it, and to turn it into an actual business. It's not just do it to do it. That would not be that would be more of a hobby. All right, so let's talk about identifying a suitable contract manufacturer. The very first thing you probably want to know is, what are their capabilities? Because you do not want to work with a contract manufacturer that specializes in makeup, let's say, if what you're launching is a product for pets, that you've got this amazing idea, and you know that you can be so successful and it's going to be great, and then you go and you work with someone whose specialty is makeup. They may not get it right. They're not going to be able to help you along your journey of launching. Launching a product, like anything else, right? It's going to require that you go through the growing pains. Um, you can, of course, always, get help from like someone at the SPDC who's got the experience, and can help you along and answer some questions so that you don't have to learn everything from scratch. But it's through our experiences, of course, that we truly learn lessons. But you want to make sure that the capabilities of the manufacturer you are interested in using, if that's the route you're going to go, um, can work, or has experience working successfully with your brand, with your rather type of product. Um, so the experience with your category, that's huge, because they're going to be able to again guide you, and you can be confident that they're going to get it right. And of course, there's a way to do this, identifying who's suitable for you, depending on what you're doing. It takes a lot of research and due diligence, especially when you are bootstrapped and starting from scratch. You want to make sure that they have a pricing that makes sense, and particularly makes sense for someone just starting out. There are contract manufacturers, obviously, that big brand names use, and they're not really as concerned with price, because they can start with 50,000 units of something, 100,000 units of something. But the likelihood is that when you are starting out, you are going to need to work with someone who you can afford to work with. So these are 3 steps that are part of identifying a suitable contract manufacturer. Also important to know is what their minimum order quantities are, what their turnaround time frame is, and whether they do responsible manufacturing. So I'll elaborate more on each one. Minimum order quantities, known as MOQ in the industry, is what's the least amount they'll allow you to purchase. This is huge, again, because if you don't have the funding to start with high orders, and quite frankly, even if you have the funding, I don't recommend anyone launching a new product into market to start with 5,000 units of anything. I've seen people who've done this, and it turns out the product didn't stick, or they realized after feedback from the customers who were making a purchase that they needed to change some things, and they got stuck with thousands of units. I know a girl who ordered 10,000 units of actually a patented product, something she designed herself. And 7 years later, she still has thousands of units in her basement. She has not been able to sell through to them because people just didn't get it. 1, and 2, it was a product that people purchase once. There's no repeat purchase. So, and that's something that you want to try if you're going to launch a product, that it's something that people can purchase more than once. That's just a little pointer there, because you can easily get stuck with a lot of inventory, or not being business and not having a flow with something that people just buy once. Once the market is saturated, that's it. Then they don't need it anymore. So with that said, turnaround time frame is huge. You don't want to work when you're a startup, especially with a contract manufacturer who takes 12 weeks to deliver product, because typically when you're starting out, you have to purchase small quantities, and you have to take the money that you make, the revenues from the sales of that small quantity, and reinvest it back in the business to get more product as you grow over time. So if you're waiting 12 weeks, let's say, for the product to be delivered, you could find yourself in trouble. You could find yourself without inventory early on, which then creates a situation where you're losing momentum on, inventory, or rather on customers who want to purchase your product, and then you don't have it. So it's important to know what the turnaround time frame is for a manufacturer you're looking to work with. Then the responsible manufacturing part for someone like me was very important. I think it's a big factor. You don't want to work with someone who you find out, let's say you're launching a fashion label. You find out later, it's in the news, that they're running a sweatshop with kids, making your t-shirts or your dresses or whatever it is you launched. And this could happen to anyone, really. There's been a lot of brands who have gotten in trouble, big name brands who have seen themselves, receiving on the receiving end of very negative um, retaliation, if you would, from customers, because they got caught up in the middle, where like they didn't even know the manufacturing they were using did animal testing, for example. And if you're selling a natural product, and just one example, you don't want animal testing should not be something that's okay. Or rather, products that are tested on animals should not be something that your manufacturer uses. So it's key, depending on what you're doing. Of course, I think ultimately it's about ethics anyways, and you want to try to have ethics as part of whatever it is that you're doing, because you may be the next $1 million idea, and people will come looking to see how responsible you've been from the get-go. So these are some of the points that are important to be clear on when choosing a contract manufacturer. Before we get into this, because I want to touch a little bit on products, rather on services, people who don't necessarily want to do a product but still want to do something private label. I just want to add a little bit more on the whole contract manufacturer selection, because you might be thinking now, well, okay, so I have these points and these steps, but how many people should I reach out to, or how do I do the homework? How do I do the research without someone just saying to me, hey, use this guy, use that guy? References are great, of course. If you're doing something like what I'm doing, let's say, and you wanted a reference, that's one thing. But just remember, you have to always try to get someone to work with who's going to fit your unique situation. But it's a good idea initially to, I would say, contact at least 10 or 20 manufacturers within your industry. This way, as you're filtering down, you can end up with at least 2 or 4 that you can consider doing business with, and that you can then get price quotes from and get information from as you filter them out. You also want to make sure that, again, that they create quality products, that they're known for doing quality products, that they've created products for other startups, other brands or vendors that have had success in the marketplace. You want to find out also how price changes when you order volume. When I started early on, I worked with a manufacturer who was going to charge me the same price whether I ordered 500 units or 1,500 units. And so I went to someone who gave me the same considerations they'd give a large brand, right? And as I ordered more, they lowered their price for me. That's important because that's what they do for the big brands. I once worked with a vendor who they were doing some silkscreen printing for my bottles and made a mistake on one of the bottles with my logo. And when I brought it up and said, I can't have these, they said, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And I knew that they did work for Estee Lauder. So I had to say to him, listen, if I was Estee Lauder, you would not be saying this to me. So you want to make sure, of course, I didn't work with them again, but you want to make sure that whoever you select is going to give you the treatment as if you were already $1 million brand. Okay. Even if you're only ordering 500 units to start with, you want them to show you that they want your business, that they respect you. And with that said, one way to gauge that is how quickly they respond to your emails, for example. Do they treat you professionally? Do they make you feel like they value you regardless of the fact that you're just starting out? It tells you they believe in you. That's a manufacturer that you can grow with. Also, I'd say, though, obviously, keeping your costs low is very important. That's always going to be something you're going to want to make sure you do in business, is keeping your costs low so that you can make a profit. Be careful not to make that the only reason you select a contract manufacturer or anyone you work with, guys. Even marketing people, PR people, sometimes paying the lowest price means you're going to sacrifice quality. And in order to retain customers, your product is going to have to do what it says. It's going to have that functionality. It's going to have to be a quality product so that your customers come back. Okay, there are people who've launched product lines that look gorgeous on the shelf, beautiful packaging, made promises, and guess what? They sold one to each customer because nobody came back. And then you're not going to be in business. So you want to make sure that, yes, you want a cost that you can afford and that's going to allow you to be profitable. Where, of course, the markup strategy, pricing strategy comes into play. But you want to make sure that you're not paying $1 for something and getting precisely quality that's just not going to get you a repeat customer. What brings people back is that they loved the product, among all the other things that we've touched on. So with that said, I wanted to quickly just touch on, the service industry because of the times we're living in, right? Service is huge. And so you might be here not because you want to launch a shampoo or hair, or a personal care good or a gadget or pet food or whatever, but you might say, well, I want to launch a massage service that, or something that isn't a tangible product per se. And I want to touch a little bit on that because it is a rapidly growing situation. So there's opportunity in private labeling a service or skill, for sure. The service industry is growing significantly, as I said, as people are increasingly seeking on-demand services. According to Fundera, the service industry is expected to add 9.3 million jobs to the economy by 2024. Let me remind you, we're in 2021, so that's not very far away from now. I think if anything, COVID has definitely made us want to have services performed by others, and we're willing to pay for it, as we've learned that we can get things done from home that in the past we thought you had to go out for. So these are some service business ideas that you're able to private label. If anyone has, again, a skill in any of these areas, you can do very well with it. It's educational services, financial, hospitality, home healthcare services, personal services, food delivery services. If you're able to find a way to apply those points that we spoke about earlier, right? Your unique point of differentiation. For example, you might be thinking, oh gosh, there's thousands of educational services out there, or financial services, or home healthcare services. Well, there's probably a way for you to do it differently that will make it valuable to people. Of course, there's branding that comes into play eventually, and marketing and so on, but it's doable is what I want to say. And so if there's anyone on the webinar who is thinking or has a skill that they've always thought they could turn into a business, now is an excellent time to do that. And so that leads us to the end of the presentation. Basically, I like to always leave people with this message that you might have been sitting on the idea for a long time, or the idea may have just we've been living for the past year. And so there's only one way to do it and get going and finding out if it's a viable idea, a viable business. And so I love this quote by Walt Disney. It's that the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And of course, I would add to that, of course, you use the resources that are available to you. You're doing that by being on this webinar. The SBDC at Rutgers-Newark, again, is excellent at providing opportunities for people to get the information that they need and work with someone who can help you get started. So with that said, we are going to go into the Q&A section. And I will, as we go into Q&A, leave this up here. I know Priscilla shared the information for the center, but here's the email and the website. You probably already have it because you registered for this webinar. But at this time, I will take questions from everyone. I guess, Priscilla, should we go in and read at the Q&A? I guess I can just do that. Since everyone's muted, right? That's the only way we're gonna ask questions, is that correct? Priscilla? Well, let's see. So the chat.
Hi, Nellie. I can read the questions for you if that's better.
Oh, perfect. Please. Yeah, because I'm clicking on it and I don't see any.
Okay, so our first question is, I am in the process of creating my own e-commerce store, a CBD wellness store. I decided to do white labeling. Is white labeling the same as private labeling?
So I am not familiar actually with white labeling. I have not honestly heard of white labeling. I've always heard of private labeling, contract manufacturing. So I cannot speak to that. I'm sorry. I'll have to look that up and see what it is. If you want to share a little bit more about it, I could maybe tell you if it sounds like it's the same, but I'm not familiar with white labeling.
Okay, we can actually unmute Dana if that's what she would like to speak about.
My apologies, everyone.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I was in the process of typing some more. So my products are CBD, and I'm going through a company to where you could use their products with their label or your own label, and they call it white labeling, but and it's everything basically what you just explained today. But I think the difference is, because I did ask them the question, is with the white labeling, is drop shipping. So is, I guess to them, private is if it was my ingredients that they put together for me, but it's not, is their
That
ingredients.
is,
Yeah, it sounds to me like ready to made. Yeah,
Right.
ready. Yeah, yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the only difference. Yeah, because, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I use it interchangeable, private white labeling, but for
Mm-hmm.
their company, it is a distinction between the two. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it was ready made. It's not,
Right.
yeah.
So yeah, so they're using a ready-made formula, and then are they putting your labels on it, or are they sending it to you, the bottles without any label, and you put your own labels on them?
No, I just send them my logo with
Yeah.
my name, my branding name, a company
Yeah.
name, and they're gonna put it on the bottles for me. And so whatever I order, and I'm gonna do wholesale
Mm-hmm.
instead of, so they're gonna put the label on the bottles for me, and whatever order I put in, they're gonna mail it to me wholesale, because
Okay.
otherwise, with the white labeling,
Mhm.
I'm not, I'm going to mail it out myself. There's no drop shipping. They could do drop shipping with the white labeling if I'm selling, let's say, I think like over 5,000 a month, because they charge an extra 300.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not, because I'm just starting out, it's easier for me to buy it wholesale and ship it myself.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yeah. With the drop shipping, it's not something that you want to start with just because it can be expensive, and then that just eats into your profits. So that's a smart way to do it. Good for you. Yeah. So definitely. So I guess white labeling may be an internal term they use, or it might be a new term for ready-made formulas, but it
Right.
works very well for people. Yeah. All
But
right. So, and
I need to write that down, ready made, because I would just say private, like using it interchangeable, but for, business purposes, it is a distinction between the two.
right. Okay. Yeah. Very good. Um, Good luck with that. CBD is huge.
Yeah, that was another thing too, because you pointed out, standing out, like CBD is everywhere, but they do third party testing, which is very important. Um, the the milligrams that they have in it is like high, which is good compared to others, because people put like
Okay.
one drop of CBD in something and then they want to smack CBD on their product.
Yep.
So
Yeah. And some of it is, a lot of it is like olive oil, I've heard, or they use oils like carrier oils and make it more coconut oil or something else than CBD. So
yeah, so it's just a matter of marketing for me, making sure that I do stand out separately to get sales, because
right.
it's, yeah, it's a lot of people into that now.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay,
So very good.
thank you.
You're welcome.
okay. For the benefit, so I do apologize for earlier, Nelly. What I've done is I've opened up the the microphones for everyone. If
Okay.
anyone has a question and they don't want to type it, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask your question, but please remember to mute your microphones after. That way we don't have background sounds that interrupt in the presentation or the question Q&A.
Hi, I had a question. Um, my question is, how do you private label skills and services like educational services and financial services?
Sure. So the first thing is, when you decide which skill or service you want to private label, then you're going to give it a brand, right? You're going to create the brand personality for it. And you're also going to want to list the ways for yourself internally, obviously, as you're getting ready to launch it, but also for your potential customers. to what makes you different. Why should I choose you for whatever educational service it is that you're providing or financial services? Do you want to do it locally in your community, or do you want to do it nationally, for example? One example that obviously a lot of people know with, let's say, educational is like the Khan's Academy. I know a woman who launched an academy of her own where she's teaching classes that she thinks entrepreneurs need, for example, right? And her goal is to become as big as Khan's Academy, but she's targeting women entrepreneurs. And so people log on and take classes, and so you differentiate yourself through the services. And if it's going to be financial, right? So do you want to help women with finances, men and women? Do you want to maybe help college students? I know a girl who's very successful, and the service that she provides is she helps college students, or rather high school students who want to go to college. She helps them sort through the whole application process, and people pay her, and she does extremely well for that because she found a niche, where a lot of people, and she goes mainly for minority um, young boys and girls. She helps them navigate the process, and she does well. So how to do it is basically decide why you're different, what you offer that's different or that's better, how you plan on making that service of greater value to people so that they'll want to pay you. And then of course is the branding. Do you, you have to brand yourself in a way that's attractive to people who are seeking services within that category. So for financial services, there are so many accountants, right? But people go to the one they go to for a reason. You know, and so now again, we're in a time where you can do so much online, and if you position yourself a certain way, like let's say financial services, if I could talk to you via Zoom and you can tell me what to do with certain financial decisions I have, I'm probably going to value over someone who doesn't offer that option. So it's identifying and finding within your who, right? Your niche. Again, is it in your local community? Is it in your state? Is it nationally? Do you want to be available internationally? I don't know if you've heard of these platforms that do psychotherapy online. I mean, a lot of psychotherapists now obviously do online sessions as well, but there are these platforms that people can download an app, and if they may not be seeing a therapist regularly and have one, so if they just suddenly want to talk to someone, they click and find someone, and you can pick if it's male or female, or if they have like certain specialties. And so that's a service that someone thought of private labeling, and they did it very successfully. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does it make sense though to you? I mean, if you want to ask further about it, you can tell me.
Yes, it makes sense. I guess I thought, because I know I've heard of like private labeling digital products online.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess with the skills and services, I was wondering like for example, like with educational services, is it like you're finding, but I guess because it's a service, it's not like manufacturing a product, but I was thinking in the scopes of like in the options of proprietary, ready-made, re-engineered. I'm like, is there like a place where you can go to where these like educational services that are like, so to speak, already ready-made or re-engineered that you can then brand and
yes. So that's a good
I guess
question.
I thought that's what you meant, but now understanding it doesn't
No, but you know what? You're not wrong. That's a good question, a good follow-up question, because there are platforms that will offer, let's say someone who wants to do consulting, they'll offer them like not books, but courses that you can teach on your platform. And that's ready made. There are
Right.
courses that So with education and finances, I can't imagine that there aren't platforms offering that as well, where, if you wanted to put up a website and teach, studying skills, that you can probably find like a course or workbook that's already been created that you might be able to customize and tweak and offer it on your website, and people will pay you for it because they found you because of the way you branded yourself and the way you marketed your business. So yes, that is also a possibility. Absolutely. If it isn't
Okay.
something that you want to engineer from scratch, I am certain that there's got to be, because I know for coaching and consulting, these things exist.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All the best to you. Anyone else?
Yeah, the marketing. Um, should you set uh, a financial goal, like, or like, okay, I want to sell this amount of units per month, so you could determine. I'm at a point to where, like I said, I could have the manufacturing place drop ship my private labeling, or white labeling through them instead of me manually do it. Like, when is the point of where knowing that, okay, you've grown past your own personal capacity to where you have to bring in, manufacturing help? Like, how do you measure that?
So where you have to bring in manufacturing help, you
Well,
said?
meaning, like, so now when I start out, I'm going to be manually doing it myself.
Mhm. You're going to be picking and packing and shipping your orders. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes. So
And mhm.
go ahead. Go
Now,
ahead.
it's like, okay, should I wait until I'm making 5,000 a month and then stop doing it myself and have the company drop ship it 10,000 a month? Like, is there um a point to where, you get to a certain point to where you have to go beyond just me?
Hmm. Right. I know exactly what you're saying. So yes, there's a point, and it's a very individual thing. However, I can tell you from personal experience and from the experience of friends who have very successful brands and started out just like you, right? Picking, packing, shipping themselves. And I started out that way too. And um, you have to, so the most important thing for you to stay in business is that you have cash flow, right? And so, you have to try to keep your costs at a minimum until you don't have to keep them at a minimum. So it's that concept of doing whatever you have to do until you don't have to do it anymore, because then you can pay someone to do it for you. So the way you're going to determine that is there's different ways, right? You can make less money up front and you're paying someone to drop ship for you because it buys you time. Because maybe you're not doing this full time, maybe you're still working, a day job. So there's value in paying for someone else to do it for you, or paying more money for someone else to do it for you. So you can make a determination that way. Like I can tell you, I pay someone to manage my Amazon. And I had a mentor say to me, you're you're taking away from your bottom line, your profitability. And I said, yeah, but that's not negotiable because I don't have time to manage Amazon.
Hmm.
Amazon's a world in its own. Like there are people who have the time to learn it. I don't have the time, and I didn't take the time to learn it when I had more time. So I will pay someone and make less money. So that's one way to decide. The other way is you just keep doing it until you have enough money, which is kind of the same thing that happens with when you're ready to hire a team, right? At some point as you grow, you can't do it by yourself anymore. It's not sustainable, because then you're not going to get any sleep, and
Right.
you need sleep. So, but when do you decide that? Well, when you get to a point where the revenues allow you to do it, but you're still able to reinvest back in the business. So, um, it isn't necessarily when I'm selling 250 units, I'll drop ship. Unless you can't ship 250 units and you may not have the space in your home to house that many boxes and tape and labels and whatnot, right? So that's why I say it's a very individual thing. One thing that's going to be very important for your customers is that they receive what they purchase from you in a timely manner. So if you get to the point where you're selling 100 units a day and you just can't pick, pack them, and ship them and get them to your customers in a time frame that is reasonable and that isn't going to have them writing negative reviews about you online because it took 2 weeks to get their product, then you need to get someone to help you. Either a high schooler who comes after school and picks and packs and ships your order and you pay them $10 an hour, or that drop shipping service. Again,
Okay.
it's gonna depend very much on you and on how much time you have, and how much financial resources you want to dedicate to that.
And I'm wondering, how many hours a week should a person at minimum devote to their private label? Because I like to buy online, especially with independent boutique online stores. And I noticed that one of them, Fruits and Roots, they mail only on like a Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that if you order by a certain day. So they kind of have certain days they allocate during the week to mail out people products if they purchase it by a certain time. So, I mean, I guess it's all about time management, allocating a certain day or a certain amount of hours out the day to shipping and keeping up with your customers online as far as replying back to questions or.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, truth be told, as an entrepreneur, I mean, if I didn't have to sleep, I wouldn't. I sleep because I have to, right? Because as a human being, I need it. But if I could work on my business 24 hours, I would. I have that much work and I have that much, I guess that much interest in doing the things and exploring the things that can grow my brand. But with that said, that's not possible. So it's really up to you. And again, I don't have another job. This is my full-time job.
Right. Well, I'm a massage
running my company,
therapist, so
but a lot of people, and I know many of them. Hello?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Say that again.
No, I was saying.
Yeah, I lost you there for a minute.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now I was saying that I'm not working and because of the quarantining but I'm slowly but surely getting back into my field because I'm a massage therapist.
Okay.
And so I do have the time to put into it, but it's like eventually I'm starting to do my own. I have my own massage company instead of working for somebody else. Right. So eventually it's going to be divided between the e-commerce store and my private services.
Right. Got it. So you're going to have to create a schedule for yourself as an entrepreneur that says, from 9 a.m. till 11, I check email, I respond, I contact customers. I'm just giving you an example, right? And then, I take a break, then I go back to work for an hour, and then I have lunch. And then, so it's very important when you're trying to build your own company and you're able to dedicate a full day, to it, a full work day, that you then schedule yourself out. Right. That's my best recommendation for you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else want to ask me something?
Did we get to the question here in the chat? Takoa, did we ask the question from Dahlia?
Let me see. I believe we did.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
No, I'm sorry, from Dahlia. No, we did not.
Okay, so Nellie, there's a question here from Dahlia that says, I'm a startup cosmetic company. I'm going to launch a line of lipsticks. I've been sent samples of different formulas. The manufacturer said they can't tweak the opacity of the formula. I have only received samples from this one manufacturer. I don't feel hopeful that I will find a private label lipstick I will like. I am so particular when I'm choosing a lipstick I like. So, Dahlia, what's the question? I see you just typed. I just read it, so I don't know what the question here is.
Sounds like it's more of a concern that she has. And I would say to Dahlia, how many did you contact? As I said during the presentation, you should be contacting 10 through 20 so that you can narrow it down to 2 or 3 that fit, maybe two to 4 that fit the criteria that you want for who you want to work with. There's got to be someone out there who's going to create what you're looking for, because all these brands, right, that have launched one, a lipstick that they thought was ideal, found someone. And I know that, when you're a startup, you have more restrictions than like the big brands. But, I was just on a webinar recently where one of the women who was one of the panelists has a multi-million-dollar business, and she started in her garage, and she couldn't find someone in the US to do her product line. So she kept searching and searching until she found someone in the UK who did it for her, and that may sound like, yeah, but that's too complicated. But, if you're really set on doing something very specifically the way you want to do it, then if you can't find it here, you go looking. So really the only thing I can say to you is keep searching. Don't decide to work with a manufacturer based on one product sample that you receive, especially if they're telling you they can't tweak the opacity for you, right? So then you need to be getting samples from at least 3 or 4 more. And you need to, have a checklist. And so it's important that you work with someone who can tweak things for you as necessary, even if it means it costs you a little more, but you want to launch a product that you're going to feel great about. You have to be in love with it to sell it. Hope that answers the question, or, the concern. I don't know if she's still on, Dahlia.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. No, you did good. I actually have contacted several manufacturers, and I just haven't, this was the first one I landed on where I felt like the conversation was mindful and that they had a system, and I kind of felt heard. And I don't know, some of the other people I've called, the minute you get on the phone call with someone, from the person that answers the phone to the next person, some of the facilities I felt like were not my cup of tea. And so this was just one of the first companies that I liked the way they did business, and our conversations flowed and they were really accommodating. And so, yes, it's the first samples I've received. So I think you're right. It's just, I think from the very beginning of this process, I started to hire a chemist. And then when I found out how expensive it would be, and that a lot of people launch with private label at the beginning in order to be able to put their money into marketing and that kind of thing, I thought, well, okay, I can do the private label. And I think you're right. I'm just getting disappointed at the first batch that I was sent. And it's easy for me to do, is to get overwhelmed and judge it like that, instead of just taking a chill pill and keep going on my journey here with finding other samples.
Right. Yes. Don't give up, because you know what? If you give up, you'll give up without having done it and tried it. Um, you know, one recommendation that I have is make a list of 10 or, as many as you can that do private label cosmetics, and that their websites look like, like they might have. Obviously, you do your research, email them first. And when you email, send everyone the same email, that has a list of maybe 2 or 3 bullets of what you're looking for, without giving your idea away, of course. Although you can always, at the bottom of your email, include, if you're going to put something in there that's like your own idea, you can include a disclaimer that says that, what's received in that email is obviously confidentiality. You can put a clause on there just that basically says by them reading it, they can't share the information, even though they haven't signed a confidentiality agreement. But most contract manufacturers don't want to get sued and aren't looking to necessarily take people's ideas. But this way, the ones that write you back, some may write you back. I was trying to have someone make soap for me, a bar soap, and I got responses from the people who said, we won't do that. We don't do that for you. Or no, we can't do these things. Now those are done. Those are filtered. You're not even having a conversation, because I find that in today's world, it's very hard to get people on the phone to have a conversation with you in detail and really take their time with you if they don't feel like first like you're a good fit or they're a good fit. That makes sense. And one way
Yeah.
to do that is email, right? So you find the email address for the person, you email. And if you don't get a response, then you can call and say, I'm just calling about an email I sent on X date. Because sometimes, the emails for the info at XYZ company doesn't get read as often. But it takes time. It takes time. Again, this webinar I was on recently for it's for independent brands. One of the women said it took her 2 years to bring her product to market. And
Yeah.
many would think 2 years. I'm not waiting 2 years. Yeah, well, she's a multi-million-dollar brand, so it was worth it, right? The 2 years
Right.
were worth it. But she didn't give up. So if you really believe in what you're doing and what you want to put out there and what you want to sell, and then you take the time that it takes, because it is very expensive to work with the wrong manufacturer and then have to deal with the consequences of that. Believe me, it happened to me early on. And so that's something I really try to help people to see and understand, that it's key. It's key, because you can make a more expensive mistake, then you throw away more money, by having just kind of loosely selected who's creating your product for you.
Yeah. The other last thing I wanted to say, I was trying to, it's such a hush hush industry. Like, you cannot Google who manufactures, a certain lipstick, because it is, completely secretive about who uses what manufacturers. And so where would I go just to get feedback? Like I went on LinkedIn and I saw that one girl had a bad experience as an employee at a manufacturing place, but that doesn't necessarily tell me the story. So I was just wondering, where do I get to know if this is a good, reputable company in the first place when nobody's talking about where they do business?
Yes, so you're right about the secretiveness. Most brands don't want to tell people exactly where their products are being made, um, because I guess it's just maybe they consider it like a trade secret. It's, I guess, one way of minimizing someone being able to go to the manufacturer and saying, "Hey, make me the same lipstick you make for MAC." They're not supposed
Right.
to do that really, but they may. You never know, right? You hope the people you're working with are completely ethical, but it's one way to minimize that possibility. So that's one reason why people don't say manufactured, my products are made at this place. Um, the second part of that, where do you go is, and how do you find out about people's reputations? You know, one thing I'd say is, like, for example, with that example you gave, it doesn't matter what her story is with that manufacturer. What's important is that she shared she had a bad experience. But I'll tell you, someone could say they had a bad experience with you, and that's one person's side of the story, right?
Yeah.
Other people might have a great experience with you. So you still may want to look into it, right? Because they might be perfect for you. Um, the manufacturer, for example, that I work with is great with me, but they've had people who didn't think they were great. But for me, I have a great relationship with
Right.
them, and I've never had any issues. So really try to have your own experiences. I would obviously Google, just don't Google who makes Max lipstick. For example, I'm not saying you've done that, but just, you know, figure out, do you want your manufacturer to be local? I would. I want them to at least be a drive away, right? At least
Right.
I can get in my car and go there if there's a problem. You don't want them to be too far. I know someone who was having 10,000 bottles of a conditioner made, and thankfully he drove to the manufacturing plant the day of the bottles were being printed. And when the first one came out, like the first few came out of the machine, there was a typo.
Mm.
If he hadn't been there to catch it, he would have had 10,000 bottles with a typo on it. So they were able to stop production, fix the screen, fix, and he avoided having 10,000 bottles with a typo. So that is just one example of how important it is to have a contract manufacturer who is accessible enough to you, right? That you can get there. So
Yeah.
make a list of who is in the area. I don't know if you're in New Jersey, I'm guessing, right? Or New York. Find someone in the tri-state area and make a list of the 10 or 20, and you filter them down and worry about your own experience with them. Then, of course, you can request references. You can ask them, so can you give me some references of people you've worked with? And you can reach out to those references. Let's say, someone contacted me and said, hey, I got you as a reference. What's your experience? I would tell them my honest experience of why I'm working with who I'm working with, for example.
Yeah.
And, that's really what it's going to take. This part is not the fun part. It's not the part that, as creators of something, we are like, oh, I'm so excited to do this. But it's a very necessary part. Especially when you don't have the funds to have someone do it for you and filter them for you. But yeah, you can Google, you can, use the resources available to you to try to get recommendations and references. There's a site called thomas.net, THOMAS.net.
Mm-hmm.
They rate, you can find industries, the names of companies in different industries, and they rate them. Like you can see reviews on them and rate, and also read the reviews on people's websites. Some companies will have reviews from their customers, and you're going to have to make an educated decision as to who seems like a good fit for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Hi, I have one more question before you close out. Can I squeeze one more in, please?
Yeah, Priscilla, it's, how much time do we have time for her to squeeze one more in? I'm fine with answering it. I think Priscilla's not. Maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So I just wanted to know, is there like a portal system that we could go to, or a database where there is like where we can search ready-made products that might be available for private labeling opportunities? Just wondering if something like that exists.
So I know that like Amazon gives you the opportunity to like select products that you can resell. I don't know about private labeling them. I've never looked into that, but I know that like Shopify also will give you the opportunity to like buy out stores of products that have already been set up. The truth is, depending on which industry you want to be in, I would just search out private label manufacturers that show you what they have, right? Like there's some, and again, I don't know what type of industry or product line you're interested in if it's more CBD or, but some of them will show you a menu of everything they offer you to
Mhm.
private label. So depending on what you want to do, typically if you just Google private label of X type of product,
Mhm.
it'll give you a list of manufacturers that, and then you would have to go site by site and figure out or see if they have products that are like what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
there are. I know people who buy 10 gallons of things and put them in individual bottles
Mhm.
themselves, and do very well with it.
Okay. Thank
Mm.
you.
You're welcome. So I guess Priscilla or Tekoa, I don't know if we're gonna wrap up now. It's
Okay, thanks, Nellie. So I guess we don't have any other questions here today. So we'll wrap up. Nellie has on our screen, everyone, our contact information. As she said, if you need further consultation, you need assistance with figuring out how to get into private labeling, or how to start selling your products, or even how to market them, feel free to reach out to us. We can assign you to Nellie, or we have other consultants as well, depending on what your need is, that can assist you with that. So you can go to www.rnsbdc.com or send us an email, and we can get you started with a free consultation. Now, before we close, at the end of this webinar, you will receive a pop-up asking you to leave an evaluation of today's webinar. So if you have a few minutes, just complete that evaluation form for us. It helps us to know how we're doing, and gives us ideas of what you would like to hear about in future webinars. So it takes about 2 minutes of your time to complete that. And it also rates our presenters and let them know if there should be any improvements on the presentation. So please take some time out to do that. I would like to say thank you to Nellie for taking the time out to give us a very informative presentation, and to everyone for taking the time out of your day. I will be sending out a copy of this slide and the recording, the replay of the webinar to everyone in attendance. So if there's no other questions, I would like to say have a good day to everyone, and see you on the next webinar.
Thank you for having me. Good luck, everyone.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.